Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So it is my pleasure to introduce you our next speaker. His name is Sondre Bjellås, and he will present you the project called Liberstadt. And it's a very interesting project. I revealed this project maybe 2 or maybe 3 years ago, and I'm especially interested in these like a freedom cities and freedom places like Liberland. Last week I came from Panama, from a community which is called Caluyala, which is independent free city or free village inside of jungle forest, and I'm especially surprised that such community exists in Norway. Maybe I can tell you more like story about like why I'm surprised. Few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I visited one anarcho-capitalist conference, Anarcho-Pulkov, and the most people from Europe at this conference were from Norway. And I was totally shocked. Why are you are here, guys? I really don't understand. You know, like Norway, they have like a perfect government, like perfect services, everything, and there are so many anarchists in Norway. And now they explain me that it's not so true, and probably also will explain us like why it's necessary to create your own free city. So, welcome.
Oh, thank you. So, welcome everybody to my talk about how to build our own city. My name is Sondre, as I mentioned, and we founded Liberstad, me and my colleague John. And it was 2 years ago, the 1st of June, we actually established the city. That's when we took over the property where we're planning on building this potential future city. So that's our celebration every year. So we're already on the property. So this is a photo from the last news article about Liberstad. It's me and John Holmesland. We're standing here in the Anarcho Park. And it's a park that will look very similar to the illustration here. It's going to be an anarchist day. It's going to be very visible from Google Earth. And there's 3 pathways. So one of them is going to have information about the philosophy behind voluntarism and anarcho-capitalism. The other one is going to be all about economics. And in the middle, in the A, there's going to be plaques and information about some of the philosophers behind the project's entities here. So what is Liberstad? It is a project to establish Norway's first private city. And by that, it means that all properties and all services are private and delivered by private actors in this economy. And it is built on the philosophy of anarchism, non-aggression principle, and voluntarism. And these are things that can be very hard to explain to people in Norway, because there's a lot of new concepts and information to people. So one of the things I also always have to clear up with people is like, this is not a separate state. While it would be fantastic to be able to have our own state, create our own laws and everything, that will be much harder. I mean, we're a very big supporter of the project Liberland. They're good friends of ours. We actually have dedicated a property where we're going to build their embassy. So Liberland is going to have their Norwegian embassy in Liberstad. But we figured out that to do this, we need to do it in an existing state. Our end goal is obviously to be able to do something like economic free zone and a special administrative zone. And John had a talk with Titus Gable from freeprivatecities.com just 2 days ago, and he's also very supportive of the project. And he's also a person that will help us a lot when we move further into the future, where we can sort of start demanding a different set of rules maybe for this project and this region. So I always have to tell to people that we need to follow the Norwegian laws, because that's the first thing people say. Like, say we're going to have an internal market, and say, oh, but you're going to pay taxes, right? You have to follow Norwegian law. What if someone's killed, and so forth? So, of course, we need to do this to begin with, but it's a very important principle that was mentioned by Louis yesterday in a talk here. And it was so said, the thing he said. He said, like, most people don't understand the laws in the country where they live in. And I need to take the consequences when I do some acts here in Czechia, and I don't know the laws. Nobody told me the laws when I came here. So should I be punished as much as another citizen here? I don't know. But one thing we need to have a full set of regulations. So we can avoid having to refer to the Norwegian law. So let's say we need to have a law, you can't store atomic bombs on your property. That's probably not legal in Norway, but we also need to have that in our own laws, and it's going to be a citizen contract. We're not going to have a constitution, but it will be a private contract between the city company and you as an individual. So this is a video that we recorded, I think it was in June, right after we took over the property. So before we took over the property, we actually rented it for 1 year. So we were able to show it to people that came visiting to show the area and everything. We spent a little bit, I'll come a little bit back to the background also. So one of the things, if you ever come up and visiting us, this is in South Norway. As you see, it's fantastic forest, landscape, nature and everything. And one of the things I experience every time I go up there, we live today like 35 minutes drive from Liberstad. John is living up there permanently with his family, his wife and 2 kids. But when we come up there, it's like you forget that you have your phone in your pocket. You completely go off the grid and disconnect, because it's so fantastic being up there. And I'm doing everything from coding, blockchain project that we're working on. I'm also doing construction, painting, we're doing everything. And it's like John is working every single day, 8 to 8, every day, together with another guy we have up there. And it is so much fun for him, because we're able to do, if you get tired of painting, you can go do something else for a while. So that's the farmhouse in the middle, and the house behind there is the permanent residency where John is living today. So a little bit about philosophy. The more principles behind Liberstad comes from philosophers and economists and thinkers that most of you already know. But when I talk with people in Norway, most people have never heard about these people. And I think it was so fantastic. The first news article in a local newspaper about this project, he started digging and asking about anarcho-capitalism and Murray Rothbard. And when it was published in a newspaper, there was this big side note on the side of the article where it was explaining what is anarcho-capitalism and who is Murray Rothbard, and a little bit about the books he has written. And that's the first time ever those kind of words and definitions and information have been on press in Norway, and that was just fantastic. And both me and John consider ourselves like voluntarists. We also tend to use the word definition anarcho-capitalist among people that knows it, but most of the time I just call myself an anarchist. Unfortunately, I forgot to have a photo of my car here, but it says anarchy on the license plates of my car. And my wife, she didn't like it too much. She thought, oh, you're not really anonymous. So she said, you should rather get another plate that says anonymous. So, but just a fun side note is that I was out driving in South Norway, and the same day I get a message on Facebook. Hello, and this might be a very weird request, but I saw your car, and he searched me up on the National Registry for my name, and he found out that I was an anarchist. And he was an anarchist as well, and he was just living like 40 minutes away from where we are living. So it's actually an enabler to build a bigger community. And this is just to illustrate that all of us here, we're working towards getting more and more freedom, but we have a huge machinery of aggression against us. And it's very hard to compete against people that have guns. You just have to follow their rules, whatever they do. But it is a struggle, and that's what we're doing, and we're just trying to carve ourselves a little bigger piece of freedom. And that is also the slogan for Liberstad. It is a little piece of freedom. So this is a photo from the first article. As you can see, there hadn't been any activity on the farm for quite a few years, and the forest was well overgrown, as you can see. So the history started with John. John was anonymous online, and I met him probably a year before we started with the Liberstad ID. No, we discussed maybe a few years before that, but I invited him to meet him. I didn't know his name when I was inviting him. Just go here and meet. And then after we met, we started forming this ID. And John had already started thinking about he wanted to move to a farm, get off the city, out of the stressful life there. But he figured it was pretty boring moving alone with your family to the rural countryside, going away from your friends and everything. So he started thinking we need to do something bigger. Should do more than just us. So we got together, started thinking about this. And then we also did a lot of research, finding the property. There was a lot of things we needed with this property. It couldn't be agricultural land where you can grow food, because that's the same as holy land in Norway. We have very little arable land, so it had to be forests and mountains, basically. So it's a property, it's very big, and it's mostly just forest and mountains. And that is also important because we need to go through the zoning regulation of this property to be able to allow it to build those cabins if we want to. We also learned a lot about other projects around the world. I almost moved to Gulf Gulch, Chile myself, but we all know how that ended. But we also wanted to take lessons learned from other projects. And then in 2015, we made a website, and we launched the ID, because we figured we have no idea if this is something that people want to. And so we couldn't take the risk of just buying a property and then starting selling. We just instead invited people to take some of the risk with us. So it was very cheap plots to buy, but it's obviously come with some risk. So we did a pre-sale. There's a lot of interest. Nothing similar have ever been done in Norway. And initially we were accepting properties with fiat currency, but eventually also we were able to we used BitPay in the beginning to take payments with different cryptocurrencies. We'd just like to say thank you to everybody that's supported our project thus far. I think there's at least 1 or 2, 3 property owners in Liberstad at the conference here this weekend, which is fantastic. And there's been a lot of interest, and this is a screenshot from the statistics from a website from 1st of December 2015. And we have a .com, like liberstad.com website, liberstad.no, and in total now we're close to 1 million page views. And we have, as you can see here, it's like we have around 500,000 unique visitors on our website. Initially, we had a lot of information about the philosophy and ideas and everything just to get people sort of learn more about this, because this is a new concept for most people. And people that have bought the properties, it's not only anarchists or voluntarists, but it's people that share the foundations and ideas about more freedom, being able to take care of themselves a little more. So we were able to sort of spread the information as well. And John made this graphics with a meme from Ludwig von Mises, which is just fantastic, and I actually want to tell it. So, all human progress always happened in a manner that a small minority begin to deviate from the ideas and habits of the majority until finally their example inspired the others to take over the new way. And that is also what we're doing here. We're doing this as a small scale, an iterative process. We don't have any big investors. We don't have any big plans to build huge constructions in the beginning. We're taking one step at a time. So a little bit about the citizens now that have purchased properties. We are now more than 125 property owners from 33 or 34 countries. I think maybe Australia was the 34th country. And yeah, as I mentioned, these are individuals who share a lot of the same ideas. This is an old graphics, but it shows sort of the distribution of property owners in Liberstad. We have people from South Africa, from Hong Kong, from China, from all of Europe, from the US, and a lot of people also from Brazil. So here are some photos from both the summer party that we have. We have the Liberstad Freedom Festival every year. Next year we're changing it up to become a week-long festival with workshops, presentations, talks, and training, everything. And yeah, so these are some photos. At the bottom here you can see these are photos from John took the property owners on a trip into the area where they will get their properties to build cabins. So a little bit about the property. These are some photos I took when he rented the property, and it's like just serene, fantastic nature. What you will see here is like on this photo here, you see it's completely grown forest here. But this is where we have the barracks today. So you will see some of the difference that have happened. And this photo is from the lake on the top, where we have the heart-shaped island. And then on the top of this building, that's where I took this photo. It's a panorama photo. And you can actually look down to Liberstad here. So this mountain here is part of the Liberstad property. And then this is down in the sort of entrance area. You have the Anarcho Park here. This is the old farmhouse, and this is where John is living. And this guy, he started hanging around the property while we were working up there. And he wasn't afraid at all. So he was coming all the way up close to us when we were working there. And we gave him a name, and his name is Ludwig van Mooses. So this is one of the first graphics that we showed of the property. We sort of separated it into different districts. So the yellow one is the central district, sort of the city center. And then on the top end, we're going to build an outdoor concert stage where we can have 4,000 people coming in there for concerts. And part of the concept with Liberstad is that this is a bit outside the main city, but we want to be able to host people so they can stay there, have some cheap options for staying the night, so they don't need to travel home after a party in an evening, and also stay there for weekends and longer times. And then beside the city center, that's where we're going to have the camping site. People can live with the RVs, and all the property owners, they of course have a free camping site until their property is zoned. And then we have the cabin town and industry area as well. And we're going to build type of offices, especially I want to start incubator programs up in Liberstad to entice developers and startups and new thinkers to come together up there, be able to live cheaper than in the outside society, and also have the forest and a quiet area around to focus on innovation and ideas. So this is a much more detailed sketch that we're working on in the city center. It's in Norwegian, but yeah. So a couple of these we have. This is the where we're driving in. So one of the things we want to do is we want to have the parking at the very beginning. So everybody should park the car, and then it's mostly car-free in the rest of the area. You have the road going down here, which will be the road that goes to the properties, and then you have also the Anarco Park that we're building here. This is a playground, big playground for children, and then these are the buildings that exists already today. And as you saw in the first photo, the property is like two separate ones. So we have an initial agreement to be able to buy some of the property in between here, so we get them connected to each other. And yeah, this at the bottom here is we need to have our own sewage and renovation in Liberstad, because we need to be as self-sufficient and self-sustained as possible. We obviously won't have neurosurgeons in Liberstad in the immediate future, maybe in the long term, but we want to provide all public services. So you're not going to be able to get public water up here. You're not going to be able to get public sewer. It's a private service that we will be building and provide, but you're not obligated to connect to this. If you just want to have a sewage tank on your property, you can do that, and then you can buy it as a service to get it emptied, and you can go to any provider you want to do that. So it's an evolving city. We're doing it iteratively, so the growth will be very natural and gradual, and at least to the extent that is possible within the law. So what we've done so far is renovating the existing buildings. We haven't started any construction of new buildings, because we need to, unfortunately, of course, supply application to do anything like that. So this is another video. This is from August 2017. We were fortunate enough to get some donations, and also got a big loan from a friend of mine to buy the excavator. So we have this huge excavator up there, and a big dumper truck, a lot of other equipment. Yeah. So this is a video from just after we bought the property, and we started digging as soon as possible after we bought the property. So the area you saw there, and that's the only area that where we can grow any food or anything like that today on this property. But hopefully, I think a lot of the property owners, they want to work the earth on their own properties and grow some food and vegetables by themselves. So we at least try as good as possible to do what we can within the legal framework that is there. But we've had 2-3 visits and sort of reviews of stuff going up there. And there's obviously ways of understanding the law. We are obviously not lawyers and jurors. So it's obviously, we try to our best ability to follow the laws that exist, but we were actually informed that we're not even allowed to store trees that we cut down and store them for winter storage. That is something actually we need to ask for permission and apply for. And I'm pretty sure 0% of Norwegian farmers ever ask the government to be allowed to put timber in their own properties. But obviously we will get scrutinized, because this is a project that it's a fairly good amount of Norwegians knows about this project. We've been on national news on 7 o'clock on Saturday, which is sort of the best airtime. It's been on the newspaper. We also have New York Times has been asking us for a long time to come there, stay there a week to do a big article. There was this pretty big article in a Swedish newspaper as well, just a month ago. So we will get scrutinized, and people will look at this project from many different angles. So we just need to do our best. So this is from the top, where we have this fantastic heart-shaped island, and this will hopefully maybe be able to be our water source in the city. So I'll just mention there's two properties here. As you can see, that is not part of Liberstad today. It is holiday homes for some people living close by. So there's the closest permanent resident. He lives a bit far down this dirt road here. So in this area, there's no permanent residents except Jan, and there's also no highways. So there's like there's no noise, and there's almost no airplanes going over. So there's photos of some of the equipment that we purchased. So just having this excavator is like super good thing to have, because it's much more effective than standing there with a shovel. And we also have other kinds of agriculture equipment. There's also a sawmill on the property that was already there when we took it over. So, and this is fantastic to be able to create our own construction material. And we also, for all the stuff that can't be made into materials, we make it into firewood that we can sell currently externally, but also eventually we can be able to sell it to some of the other property owners. This is a photo from outside the city center where me and John were laying some bricks this summer. And here we're going to have a big open fireplace here. It's going to be like a small intimate concert stage on the top there. We want to focus a lot around culture and entertainment and everything. So eventually we will have, this will be the smallest stage, and then we're going to have a big stage in here, and outdoor, it's going to be there, and then we have another building where we're going to build a restaurant and a stage as well. So there will be 4 stages where we'll be able to do presentations and events such as this, but also more music type of events. And inside the sawmill, we started constructing a separate room in there to be able to insulate it, to be able to work there in the winter time. And I think some of you maybe have seen a few clips from the TV series Parks and Recreation. Maybe heard about this character called Ron Swanson. And we're going to have a silhouette photo of here, and then this is going to be the Ron Swanson woodshop. So hopefully we will be able to get him to maybe retweet it or whatever to get some exposure. And this is the barracks outside. It is temporary barracks that we purchased. That was the stupidest idea ever to buy these barracks used, because we spent so much time renovating them, and there was leakage and everything. So should have instead just bought new ones. The government people are obviously not too happy about this, because there's a shower here, there's a full bathroom. Basically, it's not something that we made, but it's like they're not too happy about that, and they're not too happy about people sleeping over here, because it's supposed to only be for construction workers being able to have a cup of coffee. So, but the law in Norway allows you to have construction barracks on a site as long as you're doing construction work. And this is the city center. So part of the fixing up that we've done is basically not changing anything. So we've been fixing up the office, which used to be an office. There's a big kitchen here that we fixed up, and it's going to be like where you can get some fast food. And then we have inside the building here. And this is some of the construction we've done inside. Made a new entrance area, and we also built this pretty big stage inside. So last summer at Liberstad Freedom Festival, when we had all the property owners that came over, we had this fantastic band. They actually don't exist any longer. They're from Oslo, and they came and held a concert for us in this building. This is another building where we're planning on having a restaurant And one of the ideas we got here was maybe to have this type of anarcho graffiti wall. And maybe just as a way to getting some finance into the project, and we could sort of, people could pay, I don't know, a certain sum to get like 1 by 1 meter graffiti thing on this big wall, and we could have a lot of cool things going on. So that's just an idea. We haven't put it into practice yet. So we obviously face a lot of challenges here in this project, and one of them is the public view. We have been fortunate enough that most of the newspapers and the news in the media have been positive. They don't sort of try to put a negative spin on it in any way, so we're very grateful for that. But a lot of people, some people don't understand this at all, and they go around like speaking with their neighbors about what is this Liberstad project, and then rumors starts and miscommunication and everything. But one of the nice things is that those people actually come up to us to talk with us, most of them. They just wanted to check by because they were driving around the neighborhood or whatever. And some of them, they stay all night, all evening, talking with us about philosophy, about anarchism, about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and everything. It's just fantastic. So most people that come up there and talk with us, when they go back home, they will evangelize the message of Liberstad, and that is very very nice. But politicians, they don't understand things very well. So when we say that we don't want violent people buying properties in Liberstad, the politicians think that we are racists, and they go into the media and they say that this is a selection society. And they compare us with racists, and it's like, whoa, hold on a minute. We have people from everywhere around the world. We only judge individuals. We don't care anything other than that. You are as an individual, but that has also been very hard to actually get the politicians to understand this, and it's been a change as well in the municipality. Basically, Liberstad is today established in a municipality called Manadal, which is disappearing because it's joining together with 2 others. So it's going to be the majority of people that we're going to work with going forward. It's different kind of people. It's some of them are the same people, but that's also an issue. Zoning plan, it's going to take a lot of work. That's a big thing. But another more important thing is that we're establishing a new society. And I mean, as was mentioned here during the Q&A here, we're all insane, and people think we are crazy, and we are crazy. And this is an insane project. It's just so incredibly huge undertaking, but we need to do it. We can't just sit online chatting any longer, so we need to do something. So in regards to establishing a new society, that is an area where I think a lot of you can help and contribute to this project. Because stuff like private law, how to make contracts and agreements, all those things, we need help from you. So we're going to launch a project, to have a collaborative project to come up with what we call the citizens contract, which is, not sure who coined it, but it is in the book Free Private Cities by Titus Gebel. So as mentioned, we're not going to have a constitution, but it will still be this private contract. And we also need to develop alternative methods for what the government does today. Sort of like sewer, we need to have a fire truck, we need to have security, we need to have an emergency room, and all those things. And even though we could rely on the government for some of those services, but there are going to be a lot of people here eventually, so we need to have those services locally. In case of a fire, for example, we need to be able to at least help out a little bit initially. And another thing is financing all the construction and everything. We have not done any ICO or got any big investors helping us out on this project, and there's many reasons for that. One is that we need to get the zoning plan first accepted and gone through, and then we can maybe go and ask for bigger investment. And we know that a lot of the property owners, they have some very good ideas about offices and buildings that they want to construct up there. So we know that there's a lot of will to get things going and working up here. Another thing is also human resources. That's also a thing that there's going to be a problem because we're not that many people. So if anyone want to contribute in any way, please feel free to send us an email. So this is the last drone video, or I mean the latest. I have one at the end as well. So this is from April, and as you can see here, a lot of things have happened in the city center. This area here, we blew out a little bit of the mountain. Our plan is to blow the whole thing here to pieces. But that is obviously also something we need to ask the government permission for. Or it's not getting permission. It's more like telling them that what we're doing. They're not too happy about. We have moved this away from here now, but they weren't happy, as I mentioned, that we were storing it in a spot that we hadn't asked for permission to store those. So that would, yeah. So in the city center here, we've taken some of the mass from the explosion, and we also paid and got a lot of trucks with gravel coming in there, and yeah. So then some of the solutions to be able to counter these challenges, and then the first one is going to be very important, and that is the internal market. Same as here in this place. It's like I didn't know about this before I was invited to speak here, and I mean I'm getting emotional just being here and seeing all these people in the audience here, and these few days here, and all those people using cryptocurrency, because we don't have stuff like that in Norway. I ran the Crypto South together with some friends, and we had the 30-40 in the first meeting, and then we had 30, and then 20, and then 10, and then the Bitcoin price collapsed, and over there, so we just put it down eventually. But that is one thing. Local production is another thing. We need to produce money straight away. So we're creating firewood today. We will also get machinery up there, so we can create pebble and different kinds of sizes of rocks and everything. And we need to use modern technology. We need to use blockchain technology to counteract some of the public services that the government is controlling today. One example would be, for instance, identity. Identity is going to be very important in the society, because you need to be able to track people. If you're going to have a legal system up there, and other things, if you have doing loans and everything, you need to be able to have a system of identity. And that is an area I have a lot of interest and worked a lot with. And one of the things we want to allow people is to be named whatever you want. You can just be the public key of your identity, and that's your name. If you want to do that, you can do that. If you want to have multiple identities, you can do that. If you want to be Donald Duck, you can be that, no problem. So in terms of internal market, yeah, I mentioned some of this. We've written a little bit about the website on this, local production, I also mentioned this, some of the things we're doing. One of the things we're planning on doing is having this indoor industry building production of food using hydroponics. So we can get food production 365 days a year. And the nice thing with this is that it's going to be local produced. We don't need storage space, we don't need to store the food, we don't need to transport the food. And that is going to be make it possible for us to actually compete with the subsidized industry that food production is today. Crowdsourcing is going to be very important. We already received a lot of donations. We had a fun incident. A guy sent all his Bitcoin. I think it was like 13 Bitcoin or something. And we got an email like, oh, I wasn't supposed to send everything. So obviously we're nice guys. So we sent it back to him, and we got it fixed up. So I just want to thank everybody for that, but I just want to pose a question to all of you. It's like, what do you want to receive in return for letting go of your cryptocurrencies? I mean, I have a lot of friends, and they're hodlers, some of them, and I have a friend, he has never used a Bitcoin, and every time he buys Bitcoin as a birthday present for his father, but he doesn't use his own Bitcoin, he comes to me, I'm like, can I buy some more Bitcoin from you? I have basically nothing. I've already lost all my Bitcoin twice. So That's no fun story. Another idea is like adoption of street names. You could have companies or people or whatever. You could be able to name a street for some sort of payment or whatever. And then city chain is a product I worked a lot with, and it's a blockchain for powering what I'm calling the smart city platform. So we need to build a lot of services on top of blockchain. And most of those services, we are making it compatible with Bitcoin. It's not like we have no intention of creating a global currency that's going to compete with Bitcoin. That's not the idea at all. But we need to have our own blockchain to be able to innovate and do some of the things that we wanted to do. But we obviously want to support Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as well. And when we started this work, this was 3 years ago, then it wasn't that easy to use cryptocurrency. And it's still a little bit hard, especially for the average farmer living in rural Norway. They need to be able to use this stuff. And then when they come to Liberstad, they need to be able to buy it easily and use it very easily. But it's not only about the consumer, it's also about the merchant. We need to have merchant system where people can be a cryptocurrency merchant and have everything from the finances and everything in order. So I'll just quickly skip this, but you can just Google. CityChain is actually a company in Hong Kong, I think. But if you go to city-chain.org, that's the website, you can learn a little bit more about it. Property registry is also one thing we're going to have on this system. And another important thing is what we're going to have is a CC, crypto company registry. It's basically you're going to be able to issue sidechain tokens for a company, and then have that identity registered in the system, and that identity will also then can be used when you're as a merchant. So when one thing you want to do is like when I go and pay stuff, and I scan it, the QR code, or do this NFC, you're going to see the company logo, you're going to see the company name, and you're going to see all the friends in your contact list who actually approve of this company. So it's a reputation. And this is not only going to be for companies, but it's also going to be person to person. So I can meet a completely stranger, never met this person before. And we do an exchange, and I can easily see that, oh, my other friend is voting for you. So I think that's a very important concept. So City Hub is the portal into CityChain. It's it's a wallet today with a little extra features, but it's going to have a lot more in the end. So this is the last video. This is recorded, I don't know, a year or two ago. So we experience very, very degrees of snow. Sometimes a lot of snow, sometimes less snow. This is right after the initial snow in December or January this year. And if you like sort of seasons, then Norway is a very good place to be, because you get proper winter, you get proper autumn, spring, and summertime. But it's still in the south of Norway, so it's not as cold as the middle or north Norway, and we also don't get that much snow compared to other places. So yeah, let's just skip that. And before I open up for questions, I would just like to mention that if anyone want to volunteer, please go to liberstad.com. There's a page where you have volunteering. I made a special video just asking people if you're a 3D artist, let's say web designer. I'm today responsible for all the websites, a lot of coding, and also doing a lot of manual work. So having some support in that would be really nice. And before questions, I would just like to say thank you for inviting me, and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Great project. But I would like to ask you about some critics. Basically, we heard a lot of times during the presentation we have to ask permission. And the idea of libertarianism and crypto-anarchism is don't tread on me. So all the construction is very good and the idea is marvelous, but when and how do you plan to protect your rights? And that is the key question, because if you're inviting people to come there,
Yep.
it's not the concerts that will attract them. It is protection of these basic rights. And additionally to that question, it's not like negative critics, because I understand that you have already faced and made a lot. So can you also explain what it takes to establish such a place? I mean, how you was fighting government before, and how much resources you have required before to do that, what you have already done?
Yep. So the first question I will just put back to you. I don't know, but I need you guys here and everyone else in the crypto community to help out with this, figure out how we're going to do it. Like the meeting that John had with Titus Gable a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, he mentioned that it's important for us to just stay low now, to just get things going, get things working. And that's also our idea. So we need to accept some sort of force against us at the moment, because it would never fly if we go to the government before we start this project and say, hey, we want to have a free economic zone here in Norway. Can we get it? It's never going to happen. So we need to show that it's actually working. And then we can sort of slowly try and see if there's ways we can improve our freedom in the city. But as mentioned, I mean, both me and John were very much lovers of the non-aggression principle, and it hurts us whenever we need to sort of accept something. But someday it will stop. Maybe it doesn't happen while I'm alive, or maybe when our children, but someday people is going to stop, hopefully sooner than later. And other parts, like when we started it, we coined something called the Libertania project. That's what we started with. This was before we even thought that we're going to build it. So we were thinking, let's do this open source. Let's share all the information about the planning and everything. But eventually we had to stop that, and we put it into life, basically. But we need to share, and we are very open with everything that's going on. We were also the people working for the municipality. They've said to us a few times that they're very grateful that we are very open with what we're planning on doing, and giving them as much information as possible. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? I have kind of 2 questions. One builds on top of the previous question, which is what is the actual difference at this current moment in what the citizen of the Liberstad has compared to the other citizens of Norway? And the other one is basically how do you plan on expanding, or what's your expansion plan? Do you have some opportunity to buy more land, or what's your idea for future?
Yep. 2 very good questions, and the first question I get all the time, and it is something that is very hard to answer. We're not going to get that much more freedom than we already have in Norway. There are loopholes and regulations in the law that you can utilize as a person, but utilizing that in a city doesn't give you much benefit. But if you're together as a group, you will get more benefit from that. But one thing would be like if you and me are trading and we're doing it in cash, there's no third-party government that can come and say, hey, you need to pay 25% VAT on this transaction. So that is one thing. Like people up there, they will trade together, and I can't enforce that. You need to submit your tax report to the government on what you include there. If you include a Bitcoin or not, that's not up to me. But I know that if you're trading up there, you will most likely trade with other people who will also use cryptocurrency and then avoid some of the taxes. But it's very hard. It's like we did some research on what is possible. That is also how we came up with the concept of the internal market. There's regulation today that makes that possible for large organizations to have trading internally. This is tax-free. But we need to find out what is possible. Another question is expanding. We already had different neighbors, which is mostly farmers, who have approached us, and they want to sell us more property. Obviously, they want a price that we're not going to accept, at least not at the current moment. But it's we have a pretty huge opportunity to expand this very, very big in the area. Yep. Yep.
Thank you for giving this presentation. I was really impressed with all the progress you already made and all your plans that are very big and which I very support. But besides of the beautiful seasons, why did you pick Norway? I think you like a challenge, right?
Yeah, this is something I've had these 1 year. So I followed the Gulf Gulch Chile for a long time, and I had a friend of mine who did something like Free State Initiative. So me and him, we were looking at the whole world, trying to find a place, an even place. I think he traveled down to Mauritania. It's like 99% Muslim country, and they actually have slaves still down there. And he wanted to get a contract with the government. So we were looking at ideas on using bamboo, how to do food production, desalination of water and everything. But it becomes such a big project, huge project. And you need to move with your family or travel a lot, so it's going to be very expensive. So then we figured out, like, why can't we just do it in Norway? Norway is it's a pretty functional society. And the fun things, like people, as you mentioned initially here, is like, a lot of people say that Norway is such a good country. A lot of Norwegians says that, but I just counter it with say, we can't make it better. Let's try to make it better. Let's see if there's other models that can work and make things better. So when we ended up deciding on Norway, we figured out it's fantastic being in Norway because we have a lot of forest here. We can use that. It's a product we can sell. It's a product we can use. We have clean water in all of Norway. It's just fantastic, clean drinking water everywhere. And then you also have, it is a small country. There's 5 million people living in Norway. You can go anywhere and there's no people, just in the cities almost. But you can go to the most crazy place and there's people living there. That's also pretty fun. But Norway is one of the countries after Japan that has the least amount of police per citizen. So it's like, I can go a full week and I don't see a single cop car or a single cop. Try doing that in New York. There's at least 4 on each subway. It's just horrible. So that is some of the benefits from it. And also selecting an area that was pretty far from the main city. That's also going to open up more opportunities for allowing the regulators to approve it. Because it's going to be much harder to build a new construction very close to a city. But it's much easier. We don't have neighbors and all those things to be concerned about.
So time is running. We have time for one more question.
Hi, thanks for your talk. What is your current policy on technological, biological, and physical weapon?
On physical weapon and I didn't get the first 2 ones.
Technology as a weapon, like physical weapon as a weapon, and biological weapon as a weapon.
Yeah. A lot of people are actually they're surprised when I tell them that Norway is one of the most gun-rich countries in the world. Norwegians love guns. We have a lot of guns in Norway, but we have a long history and tradition and culture for hunting, and that is why we also have a lot of guns. So it's fairly easy to get a gun in Norway, and a pistol as well. You need to be active in a club. You need to have the proper sort of training and license. I myself, I shoot pistol now. I grew up shooting rifles, but carry gun in Norway is not legal. I would love to allow people to carry gun, but as a civilian, you're not allowed. There's only one position in Norway that is civilian and are allowed to carry a gun, and that is the security guards at the Norwegian bank. That's the central bank of Norway. They are the only ones allowed to carry a gun. And policy, I mean, I myself, I think anyone should be able to buy nukes in self-defense. Why not? I'm not going to stop them. So we don't have any policies around software as a weapon, basically. Yeah. Thank you all. I'll be around. I have some interviews afterwards, but I'll be around here the rest of the day.